Local schools use Zimse, which is a Zimbabwean curriculum test. I then came to China because at the time my family was supposed to go to the States, but say, okay, do I want to stay in Australia? Now that you have this Australian residency, I was still teaching English because now all this experience from doing it here in China. So when I went,
it sounds like teaching has taken over. And you also have the patience.
Yeah, exactly. You learn patience.
You're a qualified engineer. I've met a few people in China who are coming from different countries, also who studied here, qualified engineers, but they end up not practicing as engineers because they're not finding, jobs in those fields. Why do people from Zim never really marry people from other countries? Hello colleagues, welcome back to Career and Corporate Hub. I am so excited about yet another episode of Season 3. If it's your first time joining in, Season 3 of Career and Corporate Hub is focusing on professionals that are making an impact outside of their home country, and not just like small impact, huge impact. So we are going to be looking at their career journey. Where do they come from? Where are they now? What are they doing? What inspired it? And so on. So if it's your first time joining in, please do make sure that you subscribe. And if it's you coming back, thank you so much for being part of this journey. And please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and share. So today I am interviewing T. How do I pronounce your name?
Tawanda.
Tawanda.
Yeah.
Okay, what does it mean?
We are many in Shona.
We are many.
Yeah.
Okay. So Tawanda is from Zimbabwe. And he speaks Shona. So
a little bit.
What?
I'm not fluent, but I'll survive.
Okay, I can hear with your English accent here.
Yeah, exactly.
What?
So, yeah, so it's not fluent, but I'll survive. It wouldn't be the worst.
Okay, I was about to say Shona. When I hear somebody talking Shona, it sounds like they're talking Venda. Like from far, it literally sounds like Venda.
Yeah.
But there's like Tendaye, like the names. I'm just like thinking of some of the names that I know that are like Venda. Yeah.
It's possible though, because obviously since we share a border, a lot of the languages will intermix a lot.
Definitely,
so
yeah.
For sure, I can imagine that.
But did you know this? That's like Shona sounds like Venda, or Venda sounds
like. No, because I would assume it's closer to Ndebele.
Because then you've got Ndebele and
Shona. Because
Shona.
Ndebele sounds more like Zulu.
Yeah.
So for me, in my experience, because they're closer to the border, they sound more alike. And then Shona, maybe some words are the same, because when I watch shows like Isi Dingo and Rhythm City and all those shows, like there are some words that sound like Shona. And I think the context is the same, but from the way they interact, maybe the meaning is a bit different. But there are words for sure that you pick up that like, oh, it sounds just like Shona.
Yeah, and by saying that Venda sounds like Shona, not that the words like could have same meanings. It's just that when somebody is talking, it's like, are they talking Venda or are they talking Shona? Because of like the zwa zwa. Yeah.
Exactly. No, for sure, and that's true. So there's definitely a lot of like similarities, especially when they're speaking, or if we were to speak in our languages. It's pretty cool.
Well, welcome to Korean Coffee Hub.
Thank you for
I
having
always
me.
call you T, so I've never called you by your full name. Yes.
Yeah, because usually here using if when I'm teaching kids, Tawanda is such a long name.
Yeah.
So I just use TEE because it's just easier, and then it's just stuck.
Oh my gosh. And I think Angel once asked me, like, why is it T? Is it only T?
Yeah, every kid says the same, but I'm just like, if you're like heard the full name, it's just long, and I'm just like, whatever. Just T. It's easier.
No, I'm so glad to be interviewing you. And I would like to start with just your upbringing in Zimbabwe. You're from Zim. And just you saying that like your Shona is not very fluent. I would like to understand like where did you grow up and how was your upbringing?
Yeah, so to just give a brief overview, because my mom worked in a job where we traveled a lot. So like the first 7 years of my life were spent in Kenya. Then we went back to Zimbabwe for about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to Japan for like
Can
another.
you say what type of a job?
Yeah. She just works for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, so
Okay.
she's a diplomat. So
Yeah,
you know,
okay.
she bounces around a lot because of all the missions.
Yes.
So you know, most of the time was spent in Japan, like I said, after that, and then went back to Zim. That's where I finished high school, got my A level, my O level, and then after that came to China. So the amount of time I actually spent in Zim cumulatively is not that much, but it was at least enough because there were times where I would live in Zim away from my family, and I would live with my relatives while they were, you know, somewhere else, like in another country. So that's when I really got to, you know, get the full experience of what it's like being there and learning the language. So reason for me not being able to speak is because I never learned it formally. I just learned it from listening to my family speak amongst ourselves. So it's just like hearing and repeating, but never actually like going to class and learning it.
Oh my gosh. And I'm just like trying to think of my kids as well, that now they're not really growing up with like way they speak their native. And I'm just like, how are they going to be? And for us it's a challenge because I speak Venda and my husband is Shangan. And sometimes it feels like it would have been better that we speak more like you know in Venek to them so that they learn. But I want to know, like, growing up in Japan, how is it like?
Oh, it was good. It was interesting because it shaped most of like my character and even the accent. Because when I was there, I was going to an international school, which I'm sure like Angie's probably doing here, right? Like, so you don't go to the local school.
But he doesn't have that accent.
He will eventually. Because the school I went to was like full on American. Like the teachers were American, the students were American, the curriculum was American. So you just grow up with that kind of mindset that you know you're learning everything about America. But it was good for the most part. You know, obviously it's tricky because at the time I was the only black person in the school.
And so, how was that like?
It was good and bad, like because
oh my gosh, I should talk to NJ.
You know, it's a whole thing. It's because you're famous because you're the only black person, so everybody knows you because they're like, oh, that's like the one black dude.
They want to come see you. Like,
exactly.
Can I touch your
touch
hair?
the hair? All the things. And then at the time it was like the 2000s, and so you know hip hop was huge. So obviously everybody was like, oh, you know, all into hip hop and everything.
From TV?
Yeah, so
Are you from America?
It was tricky. So even like other schools, because we would, you know, when you do sports, you travel to other schools. So I would get to another school and people there already know me, but I don't know them. Because a lot of these places, you're the only black kid. So, you know, everyone's kind of like, oh, so it was cool. But then at the same time, it's like, well, there's no one else like me there. So then it can just feel a little bit like, well, you know, how do I feel about myself and, you know, your attitude. So, but, you know, I had good friends and, you know, I think people treated me fairly well. So it was okay. It wasn't too bad.
Yeah, I mean, look at like what Angel goes through at school. For him, it's also the same. Like, but there's just a lot of subtle racism that he comes back like asking like, "Mommy, what is this? What is that?" And it's from other kids, and it's like the kids are being taught by their parents about like specific things about Black people, and sometimes it's like very heartbreaking to hear him say that because I ask him a lot like. You know, how was school? Is there anyone bullying you? Is there anyone doing, you know, certain things? And sometimes I do address with like the school to say, hey, is this and this and this happening? And now if you are saying this like in the 2000, like how old were you?
That time, probably less than 13. So you're looking like 7. So probably his age. I was probably his age. That was elementary school. So I did all of elementary school, like grade 1 to 6, 7. Then a little bit into middle school. Then we left around middle school. So
what?
It's the same thing,
so
but
you can
it's
speak
good.
Japanese?
I could, but now it's hit and miss. Sometimes when I speak Japanese, Chinese comes out, or vice versa. So it's a challenge.
And now that you're living in China, can you speak Chinese?
Yeah, my Chinese is okay. Like I can have a conversation.
That's good.
Like you have to learn Chinese if you want to survive here long term.
I know, but I'm struggling. I'm struggling.
Fortunately, like you don't deal with like because you work like in an international.
I do.
Also, you have to.
My supplier can't speak English. I can't speak Chinese. And it's so challenging sometimes when like I have to review drawings because I'm involved with equipment, and it does like obviously with some of the equipment that he has to do, he has to design them because they have to match the specification of the car. So the equipment that we do then assist like with the manufacturing of the cars. So now sometimes he has to like explain to me in
in like a simple Chinese, and you have to explain in simple English.
No, he does not understand English at all. And I don't understand Chinese at all.
Yeah, I don't know how that works.
But we've got a translator. So it really works much better. And for me, like having the project management background experience, it's easier because I understand that what you need to do is to understand the specifications. I mean, giving you like the information of the car, the new design. I know like more or less what I'm expecting. When you present, I can like follow there and there. And at the same time, I need to understand, I need the prototype, and then I need the timeline. So this is the milestone for the car that we'll be building in this period, and then when do you think you'll deliver this? So what matters the most also is like really getting the timeline.
Yeah.
And what I love about the emails now, like Outlook, it translates like directly on the email. You don't have to go to a translator.
I see. Okay.
Because I would send him emails in English, and then he sends back in Chinese.
And then you have to translate.
And with characters, not even with pinging.
Yes. Oh, really?
Yes.
I see.
Yes, but I mean, it's been 5 months now working with him, and first project, I think we did like 40 something equipment. Everything worked well. So it's really been a success, but a journey as well.
I can imagine, because I would say if you want to learn Chinese, you have to be forced to learn it, because if you do it on your own, you're not going to get that fluent.
Yes.
So like in my situation, it was because I did my degree here in China. So we had to go to Chinese classes. You could pass your degree, like all your degree courses, but if you fail Chinese, you have to start over the semester again, only with Chinese, until you pass it. So, but it's good because it then forces me to actually learn it, and then because if I had to do it on my own, it's just so difficult to do it on your own.
Okay, now I'm gonna ask you about the degree here in China, which is like now interesting. So now you had to go back, do your high school. How was it like?
It was interesting because I had to, like I was saying, it was an American school. So when I went back to Zim, because they still use a British system, I had to change my mind from imperial to metric. So that was like the nuances of like, I was definitely learning different stuff. So it took a bit of time to adjust my mind to like using kg instead of pounds and all those kind of things, because for so long I was using that system. But it was okay. And then getting used, same thing. Now when I went back home, I was still very famous because everyone knew me as that dude that came from Japan. So, and I had the accent. My accent was a lot stronger then because it was like fresh. So you have an accent, and then you come from Japan, so everyone's like, oh, you're the Japanese dude. So everyone just knew me as that. So it was cool because then people knew you before I knew them.
And in my mind, a lot is going through my mind, just me listening to you, like having to live in Japan where everyone, like the spotlight is on you. And then going back home, still the spotlight is on you. How did that affect you in terms of like you showing up socially?
It's a good question, because I feel like it's helped me to kind of find balance and deal with people, because it also showed me like the different sides of life. So obviously coming from Japan, it's first world, it's great, it's like as good as it gets. Then you go back home, all the things that you're kind of used to aren't there anymore. So now you're kind of learning to be a bit more appreciative, so I didn't get too big-headed because of that. So it helped me to have balance and understand that all the things we have is just a blessing. It's good. Don't look like you're better than any other person. So it just helped me to be nice to a lot of people.
That's actually good.
And then shaped me to be more of a people person, because I was just so used to people always knowing me. So So it gave me skills of learning how to interact with like different people all the time, and
something positive at
yeah.
least. Yeah. And now looking at Zimbabwe, for somebody who doesn't know, I've never been to Zim, and I would like to like understand how Zim like. When you're explaining to somebody who's never been there, how is Zim like? I mean, the only thing that you would hear is obviously like what happened back then with the land redistribution, and then all white people living, Zimbabwe, and then now the economy going down, and
Yeah,
then
true.
like people would say that some shops like you can go to a shop and you don't find anything. So
Yeah.
how is Zimbabwe like?
Yeah, and that was like all true because the time that I went back was, I think, just after there was like a huge recession where the the Zim dollar didn't have any value anymore. So people were buying stuff with like suitcases of cash. So
Yes.
it was hectic, but I think it now made us, I think, as Zimbabweans, it made them very resilient, right? So everybody is hustling, everybody is like very hardworking, but at the same time, there's no entitlement because we're all like, at any time things can go bad. So it definitely shows the people are very hardworking, good culture, beautiful country as well. I mean, you have Victoria Falls,
Yeah.
um, the Great Zimbabwe as well, which is like very important historical structure. So it's definitely a great place to visit. The people are very nice. Like any African country,
I've
good
worked
food.
with a lot of Zimbabwean people, went to school with a lot of Zimbabwean people, and I can
Yeah.
attest to that. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like anywhere you go, you will see, like, it's like guaranteed you'll see Chinese, Nigerians, and I think Zimbabweans. I think we're up there. Like, if there's
You guys
always,
are everywhere.
we're
Yeah,
everywhere.
that's
Because
true.
I
That's
think
true.
our nature is the goal is always to work and go abroad, do really well, and then hopefully eventually come back and keep the country
But it
going.
seems like you guys don't go back home to like, keep the country going.
True, but I think it's because
Yeah.
we're still young. We're still young. Like, if I look at my own situation, um, I would like to retire in Zimbabwe, but now when I want to have kids and settle down, I want to do it outside of Zim and then get the infrastructure, build houses back home, blah, blah, blah. And then when I'm like 40, 50, 60 and I want to chill, then I'll go back home because, in first world countries, you don't own anything. Everything is mortgaged. So you're really just paying all these prices for life. At least there, if I buy something, I know I own it and I don't have to worry about the bank, foreclosing on my house, So I still think we're in the process that a lot of people are still hustling. And I think in another 10, 20, 30 years, you'll start to see people start to go back. Well, not like us, like once we've done all we can in first world countries and now we want to go
So
back.
you think your generation is the one that's going to break that cycle and improve the economy?
I would like to think so because when I talk to other people, like other
How old are
Zimbabweans,
you, if you don't mind sharing
I'm 31.
in the camera?
I'm 31,
Oh,
so I'm
okay.
still young.
Yeah, you are young.
A baby.
Why did I think you were my age? Oh my gosh.
How old are you?
Everyone that I meet just makes me feel like I'm very old. I'm turning 35 this year.
35? You look young. That's the
Oh
thing. You
my
look
god.
young for your age.
Like everyone that I'm meeting is so young. Like, why am I surrounded by young people?
We're in the same gen.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
so
that's true.
so
That's
I
true.
feel like it's the
Yeah.
same for you or anyone I talk to in our
Yeah.
30s.
Yeah.
Right now we're in the family and settling down stage.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
so I feel like of everyone I've spoken to, we all know that we don't want to die in the countries that we're in. Like, there's no part of me that feels like I want to, I'll die in China or, like if I grow to be old,
Yeah.
I would want to be back home and settle. But right now, that's not in my, near future because I still want to grind and, do all these things. So I think that's why I'm like, I think in a good 20 to 30 years, you'll start to see people that are just tired of, the grind of being away from home. Because as someone who's always lived abroad my whole life, it sucks to always be in a place where you're not from. Even though you enjoy all the things that country has, it's like having to deal with a visa, having to deal with all the history of that place, the racism. So a lot of these things, grind you down every day, and then eventually you're like, let me just go back home where I know my family is, I don't have to worry about a visa. I don't have to worry about trying to survive every day in terms of like how will people view me, how people treat me. So.
Now you also mentioned that a lot of people like want to go out and explore the world. Yeah, that's actually a different perspective, because I would also look at it from a lot of people are sort of like fleeing because of the economy not doing so well. And I would also look at how South Africa is now. A lot of people now are like moving, like going to other countries. I mean, you look at like South Africans that are here in China, there's like literally
there's tons,
a whole community.
so many.
So for me it scares me. Hey? It does. I don't look at it as like people getting opportunities outside of their countries. It also scares me because I know that the economy is also not doing so well. But at the same time, I would really like a lot of us like to go back and build like the economy. So yeah.
Because like one question I always ask like people in that situation is like, if you made $5,000 a week in China versus $5,000 in South Africa, where would you rather be? Immediately you'd be like, I'd rather make that 5K at home. Right? So but the reality is that you're not making 5K a week at home. So that's why I'm just like, in our hearts, you're right, like so many people are leaving because you just want a better financial or economical situation. But for sure, in your heart of hearts is like, man, home is great. Like you just miss certain things. Like it could be braaiing, it could be
tell me about that.
Like
braaiing, like specific tastes
that you're just like, do I want to go the rest of my life without ever tasting it again? No. So but it's a sacrifice that you're willing to make for yourself, for your family, and same for myself, my family, that like, look, we're gonna grind, we're gonna push this stuff. When we have kids, they will have options, right? Like you can go back home, but also I've given you a place where I've put in the work, where now you can choose whether you want to pursue this country or you want to go back home. But just know, if you go back home, if we do, I've set up everything so that I retire. So most of the stuff will go to our kids and kind of break that generational suffering. So it's just about trying to make a better future for ourselves, and it's not going to happen at home.
No, definitely, I do agree. And now, looking at your career, you finished high school. So in Zim, like looking at high school, is it like in South Africa where you study math, science, geography, biology? What are the
all the like geology, sociology, like all the core subjects, right?
Yes.
From my understanding, in South Africa, you do a matric, right?
You do, yes.
And that's the only test you do throughout your entire high school.
Yes.
Whereas in Zim, it's like a British system. So your first 4 or 5 years, you're just learning those core subjects: your math, English, science, biology, blah blah blah. Then you do your O level. So on O level, basically, I feel is like the equivalent of a matric, where I could go to university on an O level or do a course. I don't have to do A level. But most people will do A level because, as things get more competitive, an O level is not enough.
What is an O level?
So
Please explain it.
So we use the Cambridge system. It's the Cambridge test. So it goes off to England, blah blah blah. So this is for private schools in Zimbabwe. The local schools use Zimse, which is a Zimbabwean curriculum test. So that one is not separate. That one, I think there's just one Zimse. I may be wrong, but I just know that you take one test for Zimse. But if you go to a private school, you're gonna do your O's and A's. So ordinary level is just it just means like you have graduated high school, you know your English, you know your science, you know your math, you know your blah blah blah. Then you can choose to go to A level, which is now an extra 2 years, right? But then you only choose 3 subjects, 2 to 3 subjects, maybe 4. Some people choose 4. So with those 4 subjects, maybe you're not specializing in IT, or you're specializing in business, you're specializing in science, whatever you want to specialize in, you do those 3 core subjects. Then in combination, your O's and A's, then you can take that to university. But you could still go to university with just your O levels, because it's the equivalent of like saying, I've done high school, I have A in maths, O in English, blah 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 blah.
there's just a lot of learning and a lot of confusion.
Yeah.
You know, and now when you talk about Zimse, I'm like, what? Because when you hear about the education system or standard in Zim, you always hear about the like OA levels that it's like the British curriculum. It's so great, and but now when you like mention Zimsec, I'm just like, okay, now you have threw me off. Yeah,
I see. No, because in my honest experience, I feel like Zimsec is actually more challenging than the Cambridge, because the Cambridge is just standardized test. That everyone, but obviously it's more recognized because it's coming from England. But when I did Zimsec English, I think I got like a B, and my English was really good. And when I did Cambridge, I got like an A+. So it was like, in my experience, I felt like the standard of Zimsec is a lot higher. Like they demand a lot more, which means that
no
the
wonder
education
a lot of people
is
are
good.
so smart.
Yes.
Yeah.
So definitely it encourages, if you do Zimsec, it encourages, it's harder. So the people end up being a lot smarter. But now it's not internationally recognized as well as Cambridge. So you have the two balances. Do you want something that's hard and means you actually learned? Or do you want the one that's a little bit easier, but at least it's recognized if you go abroad? Yeah. So that's the easiest way to break it down. But you have those two economies.
Yeah. And looking at Zim, what are the good things that maybe people don't really talk about, and the worst that maybe
that most people don't know. Good thing, I think, is just the people. Like the very nice people, humble. Like we're not very combative. I think you just see it. I think that's why a lot of our problems stem, is that a lot of people just want to work. We just want to work, have a good life, have community. We don't really strive for conflict, and that's, I feel like, our greatest strength, but also our weakness, because now a lot of maybe the economy issues also stem from the fact that people don't really fight for change, and obviously the powers that be also stem down on people. But I feel like in South Africa, even if the government did try to do something, people would still fight it. People wouldn't just people wouldn't just be like, oh, I feel for us, we're very quick to be like, okay,
it's fine.
Yeah,
let's just accept what we have.
Let's just accept it. But that's also our strength, is that we are good at enduring hardship. So because I feel like we've had it for so long, it's like, if you want the people that really, strong mentally, strong mental health, strong attitude, Zimbabweans. But then at the same time, it's too strong to a fault where now we're not really fighting for change as much as we could be, but that's why I think most people just end up working really hard and then just going to diaspora and going abroad, like whether it's South Africa or England or abroad. It's far better to have that mentality elsewhere than in your own country, because it's so tough. Just the economy is just not great. So
and the bad.
Yeah, so like I touched on, is the economy. I think that's the biggest thing. Is if the economy was great, people would stay. But
definitely,
I think maybe not as spoke of, but like you're saying, is the fact that we have to leave. I feel like it's the people in diaspora that keep the country afloat. So all the people sending money back home to their family and working hectic jobs in first world and sending that money back. It's so debilitating, because sometimes maybe it's just the husband who goes, family stays, or the child goes, parents stay, or sometimes I've seen parents go and children stay. So how's that working for the family dynamic? Imagine you guys are here and your kids are back in SA, but you're doing that because at least you can send them money and take them to school, blah blah blah. But if you bring them here, life will be just too expensive, or you just can't afford having everyone in one place.
Yeah, and it's not easy. It's quite expensive to have kids here,
Yeah, I saw your post. Like how much it's a lot.
It's so expensive. I mean, to have a helper alone, because you can't do it, alone. That's why a lot of people, when they come here, one spouse works and the other spouse doesn't work, because then if you've got kids, you're able to take care of the kids like full time.
Yeah.
And it's not like you can just make a call to say, Can I bring my child? If you're home, where you can easily
True.
send the parents back
Exactly.
home. Yeah, and then let's talk about your then after matric. What happens? Where did you study? What did you study?
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Because after my A levels, I did A levels, so I was focusing more on computers. So
Mm-hmm.
with that, I then came to China because
Mm,
at the time my family was supposed to go to the States,
okay.
and so I wanted to come here just as a stopgap because I had taken a gap year to kind of work
Mm-hmm.
and stuff, but I was struggling to find work in Zim. So now, while we're waiting to go there, I was like, okay, me and my friend will come to China because he was planning to come here. So
Okay.
I was like, well, I'll come here and I'll find a school where I can transfer the credits when they eventually go to the States. But that didn't end up happening. They ended up coming here as well.
Oh
So
my
which
gosh.
wasn't the plan when I first left. So it
Yeah.
was like, oh, they're here and we're all here. So I went to Zhujiang, which is like in southern China, in
Mm-hmm.
Hangzhou. That's where I did my school.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I was doing telecommunication engineering.
Okay.
So I wanted to do anything to do with like working for cellular towers, networking, all that
Mm-hmm.
kind of
Mm-hmm.
IT stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So that was my original goal. And then obviously my family was here. So now for holidays, I was coming to Beijing, where my
Mm-hmm.
family is, and then going back to school in the south. So I was just going back and forth.
So now Beijing became home basically because
Yeah.
that's where now your parents were based
Mm,
while you were studying.
mm.
And how is it like?
In Beijing or the studying
Just the
process?
studying process.
The
Yeah.
studying process is interesting. I think anybody who comes to China to study
Mm-hmm.
will go through this. Like I said, you have to learn Chinese.
Mm-hmm.
Some people, it's cheaper to learn the course in Chinese. So some
Mm-hmm.
people will actually learn with zero Chinese. They'll go and do a course in full Chinese because it's a bit more affordable.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, it's a whole thing. But for me, I did it in English, so I
Okay.
had to learn Chinese as well. It's good. Like I think here, well, for me, I picked here for technology because China is, I think, one of the best places for any technological
Definitely.
degree.
Yeah.
Probably for all. Like I don't know about business, blah blah, but for definitely for technology because
Mm-hmm.
the school I was at, I mean, there's nothing special, but the labs all had like the latest technology.
Mm-hmm.
I think at the
Mm-hmm.
time, this was like 2016, they already had like 5G networks in school. Like at the time, I think we were using LTE, like 4G. So
Oh,
we were already working with 5G sensors and 5G networks and stuff. And I was like,
yeah.
whoa, that's stuff that is not even used
I mean,
worldwide
they've got
yet.
a whole city for technology,
Yeah,
Shenzhen.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So,
So it's
yeah.
the best. Like you
Mm-hmm.
really will get to work with like cutting edge,
Mm-hmm.
and for them it's nothing. It's not like Harvard. It's for them it's normal. Like to be
Yeah.
using normal like up to date sensors. So I'm sure if they went to school now, they'd probably be using 6G or
I'm
something like
sure something which is
something.
coming in
Yeah,
the future.
yeah, in the future. Because I
Yeah.
remember there was a time where we had the school took us to I think it was Huawei, and we were able to see face recognition AI at the time, like when it was still like in the baby steps.
I mean, you're talking about
Yeah, this was
2016,
like 2016,
2017.
2017.
Yeah.
And we were able. They just showed us like a demo. At the time, we didn't think much of it because it
Yeah.
wasn't as big as it is now. But I remember like them mentioning stuff like they were now working with big data, cloud data,
Mm.
AI models, blah blah. But
And their
then yeah,
face recognitions, machines are very, they're very sensitive.
yeah,
Like the way they sense your face, it's
mm,
like,
it's
yeah,
good.
you don't have to be like close. I look at work like when you enter for clock-ins,
Mm,
uh, even when you're far, like it recognizes
it
your face.
recognizes you. Like their
Yeah,
face recognition AI is probably
it's
the
quite
best.
good.
Like
Yeah,
they can probably get your face from like a kilometer
yeah,
away.
yeah.
It's crazy. So yeah, so it
Mhm,
that's just how it was. It was very interesting.
mhm.
But then now it's like during the holidays, when you want to do work, the only work you could do because you can't work at like fast food restaurants and stuff. So I ended up
Because
just
of the
teaching.
visa.
Yeah, because of the
Uh-huh.
visa thing. So I ended up just working at like a training center teaching English.
During your varsity or
No, this was during degree, like when I
okay.
was between holidays, like for classes.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
you're sitting around, like there's nothing to do, and my family
Mm-hmm.
was here, so I wasn't leaving China. I was always
Mm-hmm.
here. So I ended up just teaching English, and at the time teaching English in China was still on the rise. Like it was becoming a really big business. So it was easy to find like places. You had all these places opening up. So it was just like a summer job, like something I was just doing in the summer to make money and blah blah blah. But I enjoyed it. It was fun. It was good.
So is that then like your teaching career started?
I would say that's when it like officially took off. Because now I was doing that like every holiday, you know, just doing teaching.
And obviously there's like more money also. That's
it was a lot of money. So you know,
you're like,
at the time you're like, whoa,
what?
you know, it was great. Like I think it's one of the things I still appreciate about being outside of your country is that you feel like you can work, make money, and then buy things you want without having to rely on your parents.
Correct. Yeah.
So that was good. Yeah.
Okay. And now, did you finish your degree? Okay.
So when I finished my degree, I did work another year, but this time I was just doing teaching. I tried to look for like IT jobs in China, and I think that's one of the challenges you'll find if you study here, is that they're not quick to give you jobs, or the school doesn't help you to find jobs in your target or in what you're learning. So that's the challenge. But the positive thing is that you can for example, in South Africa, I remember Huawei had a pathway that if you studied in China, then you could work for Huawei in South Africa, like the phone.
I think company. I know someone who did that. I think they studied in China and then they went to work for Huawei in South Africa.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's great that those opportunities are there to do it in your own country. But I wasn't from South Africa, so when I tried,
was then the disadvantage.
That was a disadvantage. So I tried to do it, and it went far. Like I did get into the thing. I think they invited me, but then at the time I met my wife and we had gotten married.
Love.
So I was like, you know, so now we weren't trying to stay in SA. Now we were like, let's try to find somewhere else to go. Yeah. You know, so at the time we were looking at Canada, Australia, like all these different places.
Now that you talk, I mean, you're a qualified engineer. I've met a few people in China who are coming from different countries, also who studied here, qualified engineers, but they end up not practicing as engineers because they're not finding, you know, jobs in those fields. And some they just like, well, there's no money in engineering, and I'm finding money here. So for you, for somebody who's like, you know, looking into taking the same journey as you, what would you advise them? Is that advisable to study, you know, engineering outside of your country, and then you end up not really, or chances are high that you don't get, you know, a job?
No, it's a good point. I think from my personal experience, if you, what I would do two ways. If you come to China, China is great because the tuition is very affordable. You get, you know, good quality, access to all these things, but you then use that opportunity to go somewhere else, to another first world country.
Okay.
Because you won't, like I said, you won't get those job opportunities here, right?
Definitely.
So that's one route. Is like use China as a stepping stone to another place for sure. Or, you know, the time I spent in Australia, I think Australia is one of the few places where, at least if you study there, there's a direct pathway to living there and working there and getting meaningful work experience. When I was living there, you know, the last 3 years, that's what majority of the people were doing. Is they come study, and then you get a 2-year working visa.
Okay.
Right. So you get
okay. So they actually give you practical experience as well after studying.
Exactly. So guaranteed, your last year you are going to be as given what do they call it when you go for attachment, right?
Okay.
You get an attachment, right?
Yeah.
While you're studying. Okay. So most people that go for attachment, they get that they do that while they're studying, and then when they finish, they get 2 years working visa. It was 3, but they changed it to 2 just before you left. So what do you do? So then now, between starting to work as an attachment, then you go into your first year, you've got like a year and a half of experience at a place, right? So now from there are pathways to get a permanent residency. If you choose jobs or workplaces that are in their skilled list. So obviously you have a plan. You go there, say, oh, I want to do something in the skilled occupation. You study it, you get work experience, and then if you study in Australia, you get one. They only need 1 year of experience. So that 1 year of experience you're already using from your 2 year allowance, right? So you can already apply for the permanent residency while you're still working before your 2 year thing has expired. Then when you're going into your final year, most likely now it'll kick in that PR. So you've now got experience.
What's a PR?
Oh, sorry, permanent residency.
Okay.
Sorry, guys, because that term is
procurement, purchase request.
Yeah, these are visa terms you have to learn, like permanent residency, temporary residency. Okay, so
oh my gosh.
so cool. So you can get permanent residency, which means are you a citizen? No, but you get all the benefits. Minus the passport. Yeah, so you then can take that time to get the skills, get the points. So you already have been working for the 2 years. So not only do you now have experience in the country, right? Now you already got a job that you already started from university, and you get permanent residency. So I was explaining, like, permanent residency means that you get all the benefits. You're just not a citizen, but you can live there for forever. And then I think in Australia specifically, you have to be there continuously for 5 years, then you can apply for citizenship. But most people will actually just go their whole life without getting citizenship. They just because the only thing you don't get is
to renew your permanent residence.
No. Once it's granted, it's granted. Like you don't you can come in and out of Australia. In all terms and purposes, you're a resident, like a permanent resident of Australia. So I mean, most people, maybe if you want the passport, then you'll apply for citizenship, then you get the passport. But you still have all the benefits of a citizen. Access to healthcare, all their government benefits. You can leave the country, blah blah blah. So now then that gives you an opportunity where you can say, okay, do I want to stay in Australia? Now that you have this Australian residency, you can go to all these other countries now, because it's a lot easier when you're going from other first world countries. So your options end up just ballooning, right? Or you can go back home, and then if things go tough, you can just go back somewhere.
That's actually a much better way, of leaving the university or being marketable. Because if you don't have like tangible experience, it becomes easy. I mean, it becomes hard for other countries to absorb you when you are applying for an engineer. Like you can't apply for just an internship. It's not easy to get an internship outside of your country. Then I believe that's then the challenge, that you study, you have this engineering degree, that yet you can't really use it easily. And then you went to Australia as well. What were you doing in Australia?
So in Australia, then I was still teaching English, because now I had all this experience from doing it here in China. So when I went to Australia, I was now starting at like at a level 4, level 5 instead of the entry level. So which was good, because it just meant higher pay, higher position, because I had all the experience, I had all the qualifications already for teaching English.
It sounds like teaching has taken over. And you also have the patience.
Yeah, exactly. You learn patience from teaching students. Like, oh my word. So that's why I said, like,
I mean, I know T. Must I say where I know you from?
Yeah, no, yeah.
So I met T through T's sister when I was looking for a tutor to help NJ with math. And I'm so puzzled, to know that he's got a
telecommunication
engineering, because of NJ is like 6 years.
Yeah.
I was so impatient with him, and the way he's so patient, and the way you really helped him, I'm just like, what?
Yeah, no.
Like, how did the teaching now come? Now I look at teaching differently, honestly, completely differently. I used to also get very worried to say that a lot of people are moving into teaching with other degrees, not really having the teaching foundation. And I would feel like, you won't have the patience that, you would learn from school, or just how you would learn from like the foundation of teaching degree.
Yeah.
But now I look at it differently, meeting people like you. But I'm really very shocked. And now it seems like teaching has taken over. Like what are you planning like for future for your life? Do you still want to still continue with, pursue like your engineering degree?
The engineering degree probably not, because it's been like almost 10 years like
Without
removed.
practicing.
We're getting to 10 years, like 2016. So I've been doing 9 years of like teaching.
What?
So if you've put in so much time into something, that's where all my experience is. So now to quickly do a U-turn and be like, I want to do IT, it's not going to work out. So at the moment, just to wrap it up, I am trying to now start my own import-export business as well on the side. So I'm hoping like that could glow up, and then I could use that. But then I still want to teach. So I would rather do the teaching maybe in the future as part-time, or do my own, like just private tutoring, doing my own, not school, but like just be doing one-on-one with students, even in like in Australia, because that was something I was starting before we left.
And you guys are expensive.
Yeah, it's not cheap. It pays because it's a lot. Like I feel like teaching, to just wrap it up as well, is it encompasses a lot of disciplines. Like you said, patience, but it's also psychology. Right, because you're understanding, you have to understand how different students or different people learn individually and in a group. Because the way I would teach NJ when we're doing one-on-one, I wouldn't teach him the same way if he was in a group of kids. Because I now understand that there's a psychology part of it, where if am I too strict, am I too lenient, am I drilling, am I using media, am I not using media, like what resonates with them, are they getting it? Some people like patient teachers, some people want strict teachers, like that's what. So you have to really learn like what gets the best out of someone. So that's what is the challenge, is like it's like psychology, it's learning, it's managing as well. You have to learn how to manage a classroom, manage a student, and also the knowledge, like do I actually know what I'm saying, like do I know English well enough to teach people, like all this stuff? How well do they learn it? Like, is it, do you just give them all at once, or do you learn to give and go? It's a whole thing.
But it also, every time I talk to you, it's like you're running a business. with like teaching, it's like so interesting. Like literally, it's very interesting. Like, oh no, this Saturday I've got like the training center. I've got this. I've got that. It's really interesting. How does it work? Okay, but you just explained that you do like now one-on-ones as well, and then some weekends like in the training centers. How do the training centers work?
So training centers, pretty much it's like right now with NJ, like let's say he's done with actual school, so now you want to take him somewhere else where he can just like brush up and get an edge on other students. So basically they're coming in, and then either we're just hammering in stuff from school or teaching them more advanced stuff, so that when he goes to class, he's already ahead of everybody else and everything is super easy.
That's like extra classes. No wonder, like you usually have them weekends or
later weekends. Because during the day everyone's at school, everyone's doing the home thing. So usually it's weekends, end of day, mornings. Maybe you'll do adults, like people who work evenings.
So do you have like a school that is dedicated currently, or you are still like just?
Yeah. I do have a main place that I go to, like guaranteed, like Monday to Friday, and then all this other stuff is me just trying to lay down roots.
Guys,
you have to work, man. If you wanna be in diaspora, dude, you work. Like it's not fun, but at least I know I can make money. I can go on vacation.
You've got the insurance for
everyone does, even you. I feel like you guys work hard as well.
We do. The hours are long,
hours are long, but it's worth it because you can go on vacation, you can pay for things, you can things that if you're trying to do it back home, you're still working hard, but it's not guaranteed that we're going on vacation next month, or we're saving money. Like, so it's good to see results of your labor.
Just to wrap up, there's one question that I wanted to ask, like, why do people from Zim never really marry people from other countries? It's like,
good question.
Like, it's like you guys always find yourselves in other countries and like, my person.
Yeah, it's funny enough because I do the same thing. So I'm like, why
literally
do I do that?
Almost everyone that I've met, I've never met anyone from Zim who's married outside of
outside of theirs.
Literally these people that I'm talking about, they're all outside of Zim.
Do you know what I think it is? Is because our culture is very like based on culture, like the like paying dowry and you know
Black people all do that.
all do
Like,
that, but
what
is
rituals do you guys
hunu. You know,
do?
in Shona we call it hunu, right? So it's like if I bring a girl from South Africa, will she really appreciate the small nuances of what we do? Same with like a Nigerian. Not to say that people Zimbabweans don't. I'm sure there are that do, but majority of the ones I think it's because you're thinking of like how will my family accept this person. Sometimes it's just easier
Dude,
to
you
get
grew
another
up in
person.
Japan. Like,
I always thought I'd marry a foreigner, then I ended up marrying another, you know. So
that's just your thing.
I
It's
don't
just
know. It's just
all you guys think.
it's in our DNA. We
Oh
go for
my
our people.
gosh. Yeah. So thank you so much, T, for coming.
Thank you for
I
having
think I
me.
learned a lot from this session. And, one of the reasons why I really love this type of interviews, this is something that I learned out of any, discussion. And yeah, so thank you so much for coming. Highly much appreciated.
Thank you so much. I
So
appreciate it.
all the best with your future. I hope your business grows.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. And maybe you can give details for your business. If
Sure.
yeah.
You can follow on TikTok at
Mhm.
NDA Shipping Solutions.
Okay.
Also, my wife does sourcing, so if you're looking for stuff from China, you want to send to your country, especially South Africa. She's on TikTok as well at Kim in China, but it's two M's, so KIMM
I'll put
in
it.
China. Yeah.
I'll put the handle. Yeah.
And so yeah, just support those businesses, and then you can contact us through there. Like all our WhatsApp, blah blah blah, are from there. So
Okay. So thank you so much for joining in. Please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment. Yeah, let's have the discussion. Which other nations would you like to see joining us in Career and Corporate Hub and have different discussions? So bye bye, be kind and gentle.